What do you remember hating the most being a child? People making fun of me, grown up included. This is a big one for me too. It seems like the previous generation of adults loved to tease and make fun of us. I think maybe they thought we would grow up with thick skin. It doesn't work. Along that same vein, when adults would tickle and wrestle with me until I felt scared and overwhelmed was probably my most hated thing about being a kid. I had an uncle that would pinch my nose so hard it would make my eyes water. I hated it so much. Some adults are so immature. When you went to a family friend's house and you were playing with their children and then your parents said it's time to go so you'd go and stand by them, but then the adults would remain talking for another half an hour, but you couldn't go play with the kids because you were about to go so you had to listen to adult talk whilst staring at the coffee table. Worse when you do end up sneaking out under them to go play again. When they spot you they tell you to come back and they yes today I'll learn it aren't ready to go or your siblings is doing this when we are ready to go. And then as soon as they are ready to leave it's I've been waiting for half an hour. If any scenario ever happens like this to me as a kid, it would be at my grandparents'. The waiting is not 30 minutes, it's like an hour. I never really got to play on the playground with kids. I was either too shy or I was at the playground with my brothers. False accusations, but when you try to defend yourself you get told to shut up or even worse you get punished further. I am an adult, and you are a child. How could I be wrong at all? I remember this so much, so frustrating. It's like that scene from Matilda where Danny DeVito is berating her. I'm big you're small. Ugh, and while you're trying to defend yourself, they say stop making excuses. I'm not making excuses. I'm providing an explanation. The cruelty of other kids. +1 for that mate. Sorry you experience it as well. It got better for me. Hopefully for you too. One of the craziest realizations I had was when I talked to my friend's mum about the bullying I was going through. She told me that she grew up with the parents of every single child who was saying and doing mean things to me. She said that their parents were never bright in school, they were lazy, and just not good people in general. She said it wasn't surprising to her that their kids grew up to be little versions of their parents. She said they were just a product of their environment. Ever since she told me that, I felt sad for them every time they bullied me, sad that their parents never provided them with the opportunity to be better. Being 4 feet 3 inches with the voice of a tuba. This made my day. That my feelings didn't matter. If I was feeling anything other than happy, I had to get over it. If I was crying, I was ordered to stop or get something worth crying over. I hate as an adult now, seeing other adults ask a kid what is wrong. Kid opens up and then the kid gets made fun of for it being a stupid reason. Then poor kid gets drilled about how they don't know what a hard life is, they're dramatic, etc. I hate that it. Oh, you have an important test? Just wait until you're an adult and you're faced with real problems. Not doing well on a test can lead to real consequences. Being held back, being punished at home. Being talked down to, or people laughing at me when I was telling them something serious. That phrase. We're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you. But I wasn't freaking laughing at all. Living in a house with just one bathroom and so many people. Seemed like someone was always using the toilet or the shower when others needed use of the room. That's why you just go use whatever is available at the same time. I did this. I was the only girl in my siblings. We seemed to have a trust in each other not to peek when one of us was showering. To this day, but my dad still leaves the door unlocked when we shower, just so anyone who needs to wash their hands or use a mirror can. For me, always just made sure my eyes was open and ready to spray anyone who decided to open the curtains of the bathtub or glass door to the shower box. I think all the kids did this. I remember when my brothers as a kid when my mum woke us all up to go pee in the middle of the night. 2 of my brothers just peed at the same time in the toilet. Saves a flush anyways and they were both boys. I'm surprised you weren't the one that locked the door considering you're the only girl. I get used to it. I've always been a quite observant person. So I just watch, and if it seems careful and okay to do, then I will do it. The only time I lock the door is to my bedroom after I shower or am changing. Locking the door any other time to my bedroom, I get questioned why I am doing that. So from being questioned so much and not wanting to be questioned, as my family questioned me on nearly everything I do, as a kid, I just did what they said or allow. I never can win in any arguments with my family, even if I am right. My youngest brother found a way to accidentally break into my bedroom door with his butt force when I had it locked after showering as a kid, but thankfully I was all dressed up. I just didn't want to open the door for him to let him bother me like a typical little brother would do. He always opened my locked door that way after that. It did let me figure out a way to not let him to do it once. Then my door was finally changed. My dad changed all the bedroom doors. Such a relief. In case anyone ever wondered, I did tell my mum my brother did that, and not much was really said to him. She just lets him do it. My mum lets my youngest brother do whatever he wants. Spoiled kid. My youngest brother would have been the only one who would want to look at me naked. My older brothers knew what's right and wrong. Family gatherings. Had a large extended family as an Indian, and there were gatherings and functions almost every week. Coming of age, housewarming, marriage, first birthdays called for gatherings between 100, 2000 people. You had to dress up and meet people that apparently cleaned your snot as a baby, expecting you to remember that they did so. It was horrid. Kinda miss it now though. Yeah, I miss gatherings too, and it's sad to me to realize that's a time I can never return to. There was something about seeing our house bustling with older people you don't know, all chatting, eating and laughing in small groups throughout. You might not know them and are nervous when they first arrive, but they are family friends, so you eventually trust them. Their young kids would be playing with toys and spinning each other with an office chair. Then the older kids would be playing upstairs on the TV, because one of them brought a PS1. I never knew it as a kid, but I enjoyed the company of strangers to me. Worst part of it was they started to filter out. The house slowly becomes more quiet and you try looking for a stranger or older kid that was kind to you, but they have already left. My dad stopped doing those gatherings when I was around 12, and I always asked my mum why, but she never gave me a full answer, though I suspect why as an adult now. I still have those vivid memories when I was a kid. Not getting explanations for things I asked about. My parents and extended family were good-hearted people, but none of them were very intellectually minded. So when I had questions about how things in the world were supposed to work or operate, the answers were frequently unsatisfying, ranging somewhere between because it just does, it's, to I don't know. And I don't know was sadly never followed up with, but let's find out. I have of course overcompensated with my own children on this to a fault. As my eldest son said, I'm afraid to ask you what time it is, because then you'll want to teach me how to build a clock. This right here. I was so inquisitive, and having no access to answers infuriated me. I remember getting really pissed at my mum once. After asking a series of questions and getting only "I don't know" in response, I finally sighed and said, "Wow. You don't know anything." Needless to say, that was an ass whooping I did not soon forget, and it taught me to stop asking questions. Then a few years later we got Google. Nothing like hitting a child to soothe a bruised ego. I was 5 and told my mum I hated her. Ass whooping of a lifetime, and it just made me hate her more. Some parents shouldn't be parents. What I remember most was some adults not treating me like a human being just because I was a child. I try so hard with my own kids to step back and treat them as fellow humans and not just children. A 4-year-old needs their own space and gets frustrated and gets angry in exactly the same way I do. They just don't have the vocabulary and awareness to express it. My job is to help them express it, validate it, and teach them how to deal with it. Not just to tell them to stop whining. I was on my pediatrics rotation in medical school and saw a little kiddo having a meltdown in the waiting room. The mum was getting flustered and frustrated. Then one of the peds residents was walking through the waiting room. He got down on one knee and, instead of scolding the child like the mother was, he asked the little kiddo what was wrong. The child said he forgot his favorite toy at home and was afraid something would happen to it. Instead of telling the kid that his toy was safe and that he needs to stop crying, the resident asked his mum if anyone was home. The dad was. The resident asked the mum if she could text the dad and ask if the toy was safe. Less than 5 minutes went by when the dad sent a picture with the toy and all was well. The little boy was all sunshine and rainbows after that. All it took was just empathizing with a child and putting yourself in the mindset of a 4-year-old. To us it seems so trivial that he left his toy at home, but to him that toy is his whole world. He has spent thousands of hours with it and probably has a special bond. I can't imagine how it would feel to just have that dismissed by the parent when they tell you to just calm down and be quiet. I wished someone did this for me. I remember the first time someone took my side during an argument is when I was FK 13 years old. I felt I was always wrong by default.